Hello, and thank you for joining me for something quite different and surprising. We're about to journey into the world of video games in Australia, where moral and spiritual themes have become an integral part of this burgeoning global entertainment phenomenon. Games are increasingly using religious themes and symbolism. The stories too have evolved, from simple tales of good versus evil to complex moral and ethical scenarios that are engaging players at a whole new level.
There may be a temptation to frame game designers as God. Games reflect the moral codes of their creators, and they reflect the values of the society in which they are created.
As games have evolved, they're starting to explore that moral choice, and it's not just choosing the good path or the evil path, but making the decision that you think is right in that particular moment. And quite often it won't have the outcome that you think it will.
Computer games have been around for longer than people might think. In the 1940s and 50s, scientists experimented with rudimentary games in their search for artificial intelligence. Then pinball machines ruled the arcades, before the first video games like Pac-Man were born. At around the same time that Ilona Wheeler began to play.
When people find out that I'm a gamer, they go, "What, you? And your age?" Yes, so why not? Why can't I? Why should I be sitting in a corner somewhere in a rocking chair on knitting booties? Did you get another level on that game last night?
Ilona moved to Australia from Germany when she was 24. She now lives with her daughter and grandchildren in Maryborough, a sleepy Queensland country town.
Including like phones and consoles and stuff. There'd probably be like at least 10 devices that we can use to play games.
My daughter Angel, she has got a laptop and a tablet.
A 3DS, a DSi. Jessie has a laptop.
PS4 and a PS3. And my grandma has her laptop, computer.
And a tablet and her phone. I find it amusing. Like when we go for walks, she takes her game with her.
It keeps your brain going, and a lot of what I actually play has a lot of puzzles in. You got to think, you got to be creative, you got to work ways around it, you got to think outside the square.
Over 70% of Australians play some sort of computer game. Worldwide, close to 3 billion hours a week are spent gaming. With so much time devoted to this form of entertainment, is it influencing the way we live?
I really believe that games can teach values. It is not just all given to you. You got to put your hard work in to get the things you need.
Hello and welcome to Good Games Spawn Point, the show for gamers by gamers.
Ilona is just one of the legion of fans who watch Good Game and Spawn Point.
I love the good game. Bajo and Hex and Aaron, I think they have a great understanding of the games. They give really nice hints and tips. They're wonderful.
Since its humble beginnings on ABC in 2006, the show has become a runaway success. And presenter and game reviewer Stephanie, also known as Hex, has developed a cult following in the gaming community.
Makeup is awesome in the morning because I usually just get to sleep a little bit. When you stay up as late as I do,
I'm not amazed.
Playing games.
It's so relaxing just to have someone rub your eyes.
Just gently brush your face with brushes. When I started gaming, magic was really exciting to me. And the idea of a hex being a curse or an evil spell, I thought that sounded really cool. So that I chose as my gamer tag. There's no real difference between Stephanie and Hex. It's just a different name that I use when I'm gaming.
Hi.
So I'll answer to both.
Say hello, Darren. Darren?
Hello!
I think that the role of a games critic has definitely evolved because games have evolved. You're not simply just talking about the mechanics of something or whether or not it was fun, but you are comparing it to every other game within that genre, the games that have come before it, and how it's dealt with those particular themes and issues, and also just how it's made you feel.
Over the past 40 years, games have evolved from simple two-dimensional black and white games to colourful, immersive multiplayer games with complex moral landscapes that engage gamers at a whole new level.
The first games, like Pong, just really replicated sort of sport. It was like tennis. Whereas when games evolved a little bit into things like Super Mario Brothers, developers found success in creating identifiable characters that we could use as a hero. It was very much just good versus evil to begin with. But I think as games have progressed and the technology has gotten better, people have started to want and crave more out of games. The fact that I can be involved in a story, become attached to some characters, make decisions for those characters based on my own moral code, or maybe against my real-life moral code because I want to explore something different that has no real-life consequence. You know, it's about giving players that fantasy and that freedom and that opportunity, and I think that's really exciting.
Game designer Harry Lee's interest in games began when he was a small boy.
I remember when I was young, I used to be terrified of video games because I would identify with the character so much that if anything bad happened, I would get scared. I was always very playful, and one of the first games that I played was with cardboard boxes and string and sticks, and I'd put these things together and create rule sets with my sister. But that eventually led me to puzzles and making puzzles in games. And so in high school, I started messing around with programming and learning how to create virtual games and video games. Then in my early days of university, I was releasing them online and commercially. I would say that people's morality and moral values are always informing their design decisions, not just in games, but how they interact with other people and how they live their lives. I grew up in a Christian household. We went to church every Sunday. We would pray before eating dinner. We would discuss theology in between mouthfuls. And I think this was a really great environment for me.
Yeah, his games are more difficult than fun. That's what I feel. I mean, like, most people want to have fun games, right? But his games is a bit of a torture.
As somebody who really loved to learn, I took to the intellectual side of this quite quickly. And I really appreciated trying to understand the Bible, trying to understand the relevance of faith to my life. So that was a really great puzzle.
Harry is part of a rapidly growing global industry worth over $70 billion a year. Major studios produce a lot of the high-end games, but independent designers like Harry are becoming increasingly influential. Harry's personal beliefs are central to his approach to game design.
Generally, I don't say, oh, I'm going to make a game about religion now. But in one of my games, Emma concerns itself a little bit about this person's faith because it's a character. Emma is a 17-year-old Chinese-Australian high school kid. When I'm thinking about Emma, I'm thinking, oh, when I was younger, I remember not really understanding what I was saying when I was praying. And I wanted to capture that feeling and put it into the game. So one scene has her praying before dinner. So words pop up on screen and you select a word. And this demonstrates to the player, hopefully, that, you know, Emma doesn't really take her faith kind of seriously. It's more of a custom or ritual.
The character Emma is inspired by Harry's own search for meaning. He recently made the decision to get baptized.
When I was younger, I was hesitant to get baptized because I was worried that I was just faking it or that it wasn't really my faith, it was my parents' faith. I'm glad that I'm getting baptized now because I know that I have the faculties to choose for myself what I believe in and to publicly declare that.
Steph's upbringing was very different to Harry's.
My grandmother was Presbyterian, I think, but religion wasn't really a part of my life growing up. Certainly, there was no influence from my parents in that sense. My parents were very anti-video games. They were just very much of the philosophy that you should be outside and in amongst it and living life and not glued to the TV. which is devastating for me because I was immediately drawn to it. I found myself sort of escaping to the neighbour's house to play their Sega Mega Drive. In this world, I was this warrior princess, you know, I could be this amazing character. The only real foray into anything I suppose you could call religion was that I had a brief period as a teenager where I got into like neo-paganism. I think at that age, when I was sort of 14, 15, I just really wanted to believe that magic was real. The idea of magic being something that you could use to kind of manipulate things around you was just so exciting to me. I think in time I eventually grew out of it and I sort of embraced atheism, I suppose, and science. But I still, you know, I still have remnants of it in my life, even if it's not a belief system that I follow.
Games have increasingly incorporated religious themes and symbolism to create a deeper connection with the gamer.
Religion is explored quite diversely in video games. Be it some kind of post-apocalyptic game where there have been new religions formed or cults and things, or maybe a game that's based around particular religions or old mythologies, and it will take ideas from that and incorporate that into this particular realm that they've created. Sort of started with Tolkien, really, creating that idea of that archetypal fantasy world, and then it developed into games like Dungeons & Dragons, which is a tabletop storytelling game. They've kind of filtered through, and I think it links back to a lot of mythology and religious-based ideas.
An ancient evil has risen, determined to shake Azeroth to its foundations.
In the popular game World of Warcraft, there are many religious elements threaded throughout the game.
I remember the temple as it used to be, a place of worship. I prayed within its chambers and meditated among its gardens.
My point of view of World of Warcraft, yes!
Although Ilona is not a practicing Christian, she enjoys this part of the game that includes churches and temples inhabited by monks and priests.
My priest is the healer, the person to calm it all down.
It now falls to you to defend the kingdom and uphold the honor of humanity.
I find I still, in the game, am what I am. I feel that some of the older gamers, they're actually bringing their morals into the game. They're more mature. They're not being silly.
World of Warcraft is a multiplayer game which connects Ilona to the outside world. Today, she's playing with her son Mark.
I'll come to you.
Yep, now